So I've actually been editing for over 10 years now, in case you can't tell from the totes under my eyes. And over the course of the 10 years, as I've become increasingly better at editing, I've learned a lot of things that speed up the process and make it so much more fun and creative, because that's what editing should be. And those lessons take place in Premiere Pro. That is my editing software of choice. So today I figured I'd take this knowledge and put it into a video and teach you some of the core things you need to know about editing to make successful videos on YouTube. Because like I said, editing should be fun and creative, which if you know the software you're using, it is. But if you're struggling to navigate the interface of your editing software, in this case, Premiere Pro, the process immediately becomes less fun. If this sounds like you, then you've come to the right place. So let's get right into it. So I'm gonna edit the introduction that you just watched. I'm not gonna get too technical in this video. I kind of just want it to be chill, so let's get right to it. The first thing that I do, depending on what I'm editing, is color correct. Say you're in one location but you have multiple clips, it might be better to do all of your cuts and then put an adjustment layer and color correct the adjustment layer. But in this case, I'm just talking to the camera, I'm in one location. It makes more sense to correct the layer first. So the first thing I'm gonna do is get a better frame to look at myself on. I'll take that, I guess. Now, you can either use your basic correction panel and you can kind of tweak it yourself, or if you go to one panel below, the creative panel, you'll have some LUTs on there included in your Premiere Pro. A LUT is basically like a filter. So I can scroll through the LUTs here, or if I want to see what they look like at a glance, I can go through like that. That's nice, but it's a little dramatic. I don't like the film over my face here. Same kind of deal. Over time, as you make more videos, you might find a LUT that you just use a lot. Most of the time I use a LUT from Premiere Pro. Clean, Fuji, HDR. It's very subtle in my opinion. And then I'll go in the basic correction panel and I'll tweak it from there. Starting with the temperature, that's essentially exactly what it sounds like. The more you go to the left, the more cold it's gonna appear. The more you go to the right, the warmer it's gonna look. I typically, because of the vibe of my videos, actually prefer something a little colder. And if you don't really know that much about color correcting, that's really not a big deal at all. You just have to play around with it. Go to one extreme and see how it changes it. Go to the other extreme. So that's 8. And that's -8. And I'm actually liking 8 better. I take it all back. I'm fake. Tint, I don't really mess around with tint too much. Exposure, the shot's pretty well exposed. If you see my face, you can see all my imperfections and blemishes. So you're good there. And by the way I'm zooming in on my face here, if I'm clicking on the screen that I want, it's highlighted in blue if you see. Click on the screen and then I press this little squiggly. Contrast is important. It's gonna take that flat look away from your image, so I definitely recommend bumping up the contrast. You don't want it to be extreme. I'm gonna go 25. 22. Then highlights. I don't like to put my highlights up too high because it kind of like overexposes the image in a way. Shadows, same kind of deal, at least with this shot. Like I could probably bump them down like -0.5. And then for saturation, I like a saturated shot. Nothing too saturated, but I like to look a little tanner. 115. Cool. This is the original shot. This is what the edits. You can see very slight, but necessary. Okay, number 2 is utilizing the blade tool. The blade tool, in my opinion, is the most important tool. The blade tool, in my opinion, is the most important tool you'll use in Premiere Pro because it's what makes your video. So there's multiple ways that you can go about using the blade tool. You can either go here to this tool panel and you can click on it, this little razor, or you can press C, and that's even faster. And to get rid of it, you press V. Learn the shortcuts, save you time. But that is not the most efficient way to do it. I mean, now that I'm looking at it, I look a little too tan, so I'm actually gonna fix that. So I wanna use this, I wanna use that, delete this, and I'll keep going. In case you can't tell from the totes under my eyes. That wasn't funny. Now I have this. I have space in between that. I can either click and drag to bring them together, but that's kind of annoying. I can either go in between the two of them, right click and do ripple delete. I can click and drag, highlight everything, go up to sequence, go down to close gap. I can go, instead of even using the blade tool, I can go up to the point I want to cut it. Over 10 years now. I can press Command K or Control K on Windows. And then boom, there's my cut. I can go up to the next part. In case you can't tell. Command K. But I still have this space, and that's kind of annoying. So what I can do here, I'll go up to the Premiere Pro tab, go to Preferences, and go all the way down to Trim. Then what I'll do is I'll press Allow Selection Tool to choose Roll and Ripple Trims without Modifier key. Press OK. Now I go like that, and it does it for me. Just like that.
So I've actually been editing.
Okay, so I'm gonna get it all cut up and then we'll talk about what's next. Okay, so at this point, everything's cut up together. I have everything that I want to say cohesively structured, but there's a lot of lull and awkward pauses in the edit if you watch.
So I've actually been editing for over 10 years now. In case you can't tell from the totes under my eye.
You get the point. There's space. So I really like to utilize J-cuts. J-cuts are basically where you cut yourself off a little bit. So the first thing I'm gonna do, I have a little space here. So what I'm gonna do is click, separate these clips a little bit. I'm literally just clicking and dragging, and then you bring them up to the playhead. Now what I got here.
Now, in case...
Still a little bit too much time. But I don't want to cut myself off too much. And if I put this clip ahead of me even finishing my last sentence, that's effectively cutting myself off. I'll right click this clip and I'll unlink it, and then I'll take the top and I will literally just go like that. It's looking already, it looks cleaner.
So I've actually been editing for over 10 years now. In case you can't tell from the totes under my eyes.
You get it? Okay, I'm gonna fix that up and then we'll come back to the next part. The next step I take is any visual effects or text that I need to put on top of the footage. So let's first run through it and see what we can tweak.
So I've actually been editing for over 10 years now. In case you can't tell from the totes under my eyes. And over the course of the 10 years...
Okay, so I immediately see some places where I can add some tweaks. So at this point of the video, I want to zoom into my face because I'm emphasizing a word that I'm saying. So I'm going to go in my effects panel and type in transform. I'll go down here. I'm gonna set a keyframe on the position and the scale, and then I'll go to the end of where I want it to be zoomed in. I'm gonna zoom in here to about 110, because I want it to be exaggerated, 120, and then I need to adjust the position a little bit too to center myself. Now I got this. It needs to happen much quicker. The only way for the motion blur to look good is that the quicker the clip is. So
totes.
So right there, that's good. I want add a little more. So if I go here and I unclick use composition shutter angle and then take the shutter angle and make it 360. That's the highest it can go. Now watch this. You see that? You see that blur? It's just a very slight difference, but it adds dramatic effect. So for this, I'm gonna do a small zoom into my face. For this, I don't need the transform effect because it's so slow and subtle you wouldn't even notice the motion blur. And then I'm gonna make it very slight to 110. Just like that.
Learned a lot of things that speed up the process.
Just a little bit of camera movement. When I say visual effects, that's kind of what I mean. So I can go through and put more effects on, but that's about the gist of it. Okay, so the next thing I want to do is add a little bit of a title screen to transition us nicely into the next part of the video. So the way I do that is I'll right click here. I'll do new item, new color matte. Press OK. And then I can just pick whatever color I want. It's basically like a solid. So I like muted colors. I actually normally use like a color palette generator. You can look it up on Google and it'll come up. It's really nice actually. So, but I like blues, I like greens. A lot of times I like to grab the eyedropper though and sample a color that's inside the video. We don't have a lot of good colors to work with here, I'm not gonna lie. Oh! Alright, no, instead we're gonna do a blue. Drag my color matte here. I'll do Command T on top of that. I got my text layer here, and I'll just simply type in the title of the video. So, the very last thing that you need to do to wrap it all up together is audio. I get all my music from Epidemic Sound, not sponsored. But, Epidemic, if you want to sponsor, you know where to find me. This is where the video really comes together, which is fun. It's exciting. It's so exciting. Okay, I'm gonna grab this audio here, drag it out to where it needs to be, decide where the beat drops.
Sounds like you, then you've come to the right place. Immediately becomes less fun. If this sounds like you, then you've come to the right place. So let's get right into it.
So right there, you hear a little tsk. That's where I want the text to come in. I'll drag this out, figure out what to do at the beginning. First thing I gotta do is definitely bring the audio down. As a little rule of thumb, you want your audio levels to be peaking at around -6 decibels. And the way you know that is right here. So -6, you really don't want them going past there. That's a pretty standard measure. Let's say you're watching TV and a commercial break comes on. All the commercials sound pretty similar. And then that one infomercial trying to sell you diet pills comes on and is screaming at you. It's because they put their volume above -6 decibels. They do that on purpose, so you pay attention. But it's annoying. Let's put this audio down a lot because we don't want it overtaking what we're saying at all. So make it -20 just to start and see how that sounds.
I've actually been editing for over 10 years now.
Still way too loud.
So I've actually been editing for over...
And finally, the last step here is bringing that audio back in after I'm done talking. So this is a technique called ducking the audio. So I'm gonna go to the point where my voice kind of starts to go away. Press Command and click. Windows, I think it's Alt or Control. I think it's Control. Then I'll go to the point, in this case, where the beat drops or wherever you want the audio to come back in. Press Command again. And then I'm going to take this point and I'm gonna drag it all the way up. Not all the way. You want to see where it's getting to around -6. Boom. So that looks good, but there's one thing. It's not as smooth of a transition as I would like. So what I need to do to fix that is, once again, hold on to Command, and you want to go to the bottom keyframe here. And then you kind of just Command and click, and then it curves the audio and it ducks it in a way. So you can have a nice curve back in instead of a... I don't love that space in between, but I can fix that later on. I just wanted to get you guys knowing some of the basics of how to make good quality videos. And I think that does just that. I really hope you enjoyed this video. I've never done anything like it before, but I've always wanted to, and it was fun. And I actually know a lot more about Premiere Pro, so if you want more tutorials, if you want to see how I do any specific effects in my own videos, comment down below, like the video. Let me know because I'm open to doing anything. Just want to have fun. So that's it for today. If you're interested for more content, check me out on Instagram. And until then, I'll see you guys next week.